building some cool stuff with Atlas knife and tool 1080 high carbon railroad spikes. They actually test in at 1078 steel, making it a bit more exotic, but how much do a couple points of carbon really matter? Words for thought. What I'm going to be doing in this build, or attempting to do, and hopefully not screwing it up because we are live, I'm going to take one of these Atlas knife and tool high carbon railroad spikes, a true high carbon railroad spike. Prior to this creation by Atlas knife and tool, we considered this a high carbon railroad spike. This is a higher carbon railroad spike of around about maybe 1040 steel. Much higher carbon content here on a cutlery grade steel. And in many cases, you can even pick up lower carbon railroad spikes like this archaic piece right here. I'm going to hand these back to Cheyenne. We're going to get things going. The first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take my punch. And I know that looks like a chisel, but this is flat on the end. This is a punch. And I am going to remove some material. I am going to punch through my spike to make the eye for my axe. Now what I'm going to do requires a lot of concentration. And I know what you're thinking right now. Why in the hell are you the one who's supposed to be concentrating? Because you're terrible at it. And I want to thank you to all of those who watched my videos enough to know that and accept me. I've already got the piece heated up in my Atlas forge. And we're going to see what happens. There's going to be a lot of heat coming up here. I want some protection. So, let's see. These gloves were donated by Trojan or Durex, I don't remember which, but they're supposed to be the ultimate protection for your hand. Cheyenne will eventually catch on to what I just said. Anyway.
LeBron James, how's it going?
First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to lay this across and I'm going to mark it.
So Marshall, right now, he's making a tomahawk out of a spike. Here soon we'll have to do a sword build, though. Hi, Ricardo. Hi, Jono. So, Dustin, how long have you been doing this?
31 years.
Ricardo, he does kind of look like Santa. But he's earned that badge of honor with a lot of work.
What's that? What about it?
The white.
The white? That's from Cheyenne. Okay. So I went through and used my punch to mark on my spike. That one in there that's much hotter than this one. And now that I have that area defined and something that I can feel with the punch, I'm going to go through and I'm going to start pounding it like you're in college. Because you should always pound the books in college for knowledge. Remember that.
So Ricardo, he is 43 and I am 29. do have a dog, and we have a Tomahawk build that we are doing, Forrest. No, Ricardo, that is not my dad, that is my husband.
Now some of you may ask, why am I using a squared punch, a rectangular punch, instead of a chisel? A chisel, I'm going to cut down through, I'm going to displace. I found that using a chisel, I had a tendency to get kind of lopsided on the eye. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to punch through with this until I can see that area on the bottom, flip it over, and I'm going to knock that slug out. That would be the piece of steel that fills the eye right now. It would be the slug.
Ricardo, you can say anything as long as it stays appropriate.
Now while I'm punching through, I've got to make sure that I don't get too much deformation to the tip of this punch. Otherwise, it could go to the side, it could lock into the piece. There's a lot of potential problems, a lot of potential issues that could arise.
So little PTG, that can get very hot. It runs between 1500 to 2500 degrees. We have done this for quite a while, to the point that it's one of those, it's not if you get burnt, it's when you get burnt.
We're running probably about 1600 degrees on this.
Exactly, Forrest. I think another heat, I'll be there ready to punch through the other side. Now, when I do this on a regular railroad spike, that's a more malleable steel. So when I go to punch through on the other side, a lot of times I let it cool down more so it shears off. This material is different. I have not tried this. This is the first time I've done this build.
And we're doing this live. So after I get punched through, provided everything works out, we'll be going over to the power hammer. And unfortunately, this build, it will obscure the AK&T for Atlas knife and tool, because the head of the spike is going to be the blade of the Tomahawk.
So Ricardo, yes, he is very strong. With this type of line of work, you do have to have a lot of muscle mass, or at least really good stamina. Dustin, how did you get into this kind of work?
I got into this kind of work because my family did frontier reenactment. Everyone had a trade, and I chose blacksmithing, which I later went into bladesmithing. Okay, my question was, would this shear off easier? Yes, it did. I'm thrilled about that.
And I got into it through him.
Even rectangular hole on that. I think I know her. Those of you who know. All right.
Ricardo, you can see my face on Season 9, Episode 5 of Forged Empire, or several different places through Turtle Island Preserve and everything else.
All right. Next step in the process, we're going to go through and forge that blade, draw out that spike, and then drift it and cuss it the whole time. Okay. I'm thinking the Bowie knife that should go with this. I need to draw it out longer. I just, you know. We'll be going over the power hammer just momentarily. Are you guys ready for this? I think I am. Of course, I may be wrong.
Get it hot and pound it. Sticking up here. I'm thinking I don't want that there. So I'm going to try to take that down. We'll come up to a high heat and see what we can do on that. One of the problems with forging a spike head down like that is that you have a tendency to get a little bit of cold shed, a little bit of a seam or a crease. A lot of people say, well, that looks like a crack. Well, you can grind it out. You can carefully forge it out. I'm not going to carefully do much of anything right now, but I'm going to see what I can do. Let's switch to a different hammer. Maybe not that one. Hell, why not use that one? There we go. What I really would like to have is my Purgatory Ironworks #1 that's in the bucket in the other room. Let me see if I can use my mental powers to summon that hammer in here. Because Cheyenne's definitely still sitting behind the camera and hasn't went off to get it. I'm using the force, David. Here we go. At that point, I realized that I don't own a watch. Okay.
white bucket in there? Where I parked my motorcycle. Magically, I summon those with my mental powers. All right, here we go.
Hey, I'm going to ask that you guys try to please be respectful in the live.
Alright, this is starting to feel like a railroad spike, as in being a pain. Check that piece out. I'm going to do a little profile modification. We're getting that up to temperature, and then we're going to the power hammer. In just a few heats, we're going to have an axe blade. We're going to do some kind of modification to that spike. I'm not sure if I want to do a blade, if I want to do a squared spike, a rounded spike, a claw. I've done claws.
So what's the difference on the types of hammers? Why do you keep switching out?
Okay, differences on hammers. Now, first of all, this came from Trent Tye. Those of you who are familiar with Trent Tye with Purgatory Iron Works, Trent Tye's a very accomplished blacksmith and bladesmith. He's been on Forged in Fire. He was a judge on Master of Arms, a show I competed on. He's been in movies. He's been on other reality shows. And I got this hammer and several others from him a few years back, and I'm just about wore this one down, I'll be honest. That's how much I use it. I like the weight, I like the feel of different hammers, and that's why I keep switching out. I needed to punch through, I needed more mass, so I used the large tube base. Now I'm going to go for more accuracy, so I switched to my Purgatory Iron Works straight beam. We're going to the power hammer next. Now you can see how that blade's starting to form. All right. Next thing we're going to do, when I say we, I mean me.
Ricardo says your tattoos are cool.
Thank you. Thank you, Ricardo. Okay, so I'm going to do a little bit of profiling to this before I start thinning that blade out some more. So there will be a little bit of hand forging. So I'm going to come in here. I'm going to go back and forth a couple times until I get the preform I want. And a preform is where I set myself up, hopefully for success and not frustration, by forging a small area into something I want to draw out larger.
Ricardo, I don't think he's burnt himself this time.
Then I what?
I don't think you've burnt yourself this time.
No, I usually don't notice it when I do. So far, I want to say this offers many of the same challenges as working a regular railroad spike into a Tomahawk. Some of the same frustrations. The uniform size of the spike, the uniformity of the overall profile is a plus. So I'm going to start tapering that beard down, that lower portion of the blade, and we're going to see how that works. Hopefully good. I'm going for good. Working a lot of thick material here. I'm going to go ahead and heat this up and use the power hammer a little more.
So he got out second round,
What's that?
Forged in Fire.
What about?
What place was the second round that you got out?
I was eliminated at the end of round 2.
Yeah. As was I. He got third place, I got third place, but he also trained Josh Nicolaitis, who was the champion on his episode. So 3 people have come out of his shop. And when he was on Master of Arms, he was runner-up on his episode. With Master of Arms, you had to make a flintlock axe pistol.
What's that?
Master of Arms, flintlock axe pistol.
Yeah, flintlock axe pistol. It was season 1, episode 1. Looked a lot like that.
And Ricardo, yes, I have burnt myself. If you watch my episode, you'll actually see me do it right on national television.
Once more, I'm bouncing between pretty and ugly, just like dating, especially in high school or college, or shortly after you turn 21 and you drink too much at the bar and wake up and try to chew your shoulder off to get out from under a choice that you made that you wish you had.
In other
Where the
words,
hell was I going
Coyote
with that?
Ugly.
Plenty of experience on that, people. So here we go. getting that axe blade drawn out. I could have went with just that short little stubby blade and called it good, but no, that's not what we're going to do. We're forging as close to shape as we can until I get tired of it and decide to come up with another excuse to tell you why I went a different route. Keep that in mind.
So Dustin, what is your favorite thing to make?
What is my favorite thing to do?
To make.
To make. Oh, okay. I like making Bowie knives. I like making tomahawks. I just like making blades in general. And they all vary. I got my start in frontier reenactment, so a lot of my stuff is somewhere between early American, Western expansion. I like doing Western knives because it gives me an excuse to buy myself more 6 guns or cowboy guns in general to use for props to take pictures of those. I like making swords. I don't sell as many swords. But I can honestly say every sword I've made, I've sold. So, next step of the process, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to form this blade for the most part. Then I'm going to start working that eye down. Now this may be a little frustrating. You may hear me say some words that I have to explain to the younger viewers about later, that you shouldn't say these words, or the context that they're used in can mean different things in different situations. Hopefully this goes well. As you notice, I have my anvil strategically positioned at approximately 45 to 50 degrees to myself because when I was hammering back on it, it moved. There, I would normally set it up out here a little. Power hammer.
Located in central Illinois.
There we go. All right.
For now.
I can't make the blade much wider with the forge I have, so I'm going to stop there on the width, and I'm going to start working on that eye. Which means I need to find my drifts. First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to drive this drift down into the eye, and then I'm going to reheat the piece. Put the drift back in, run it under the power hammer to elongate the eye. Afterwards, I'm going to constrict the blade portion to give a semi-teardrop shape where I will drive this through. Now, that's going to come towards the end. After I drifted some, we're going to go in and I'm going to forge that spike. And I'm thinking maybe I make this a nasty belly ripper. I got worried. I almost got stuck there. Sometimes you get it in, you have trouble pulling it out. And a lot of times that can be because your hardy hold is off size. Cheyenne's back there laughing about something. I'm not sure what. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to try to do some drifting here. Now, I'm going to come in from the underside. So far that is working. Go ahead and move some of my tongs. I don't need all of them over here now. Grab another pair. So now you can see how that's starting to open up. There are some instances where if you just try driving your final drift through, it doesn't work as well. And in those cases, that's where, I mean, using a different drift to open it up can be more advantageous. We do at times use a hammerhead. Place a hammerhead on the anvil, and that's going to give you a little additional distance on how far you can get into that piece. Sometimes when you are punching the eye for a hammer or a tomahawk or an axe, it can fight you the entire way. I'm talking about you could offer a dinner and a movie and breakfast in the morning, and it's still not going to open up. Okay, in this case, I got it to open up. So I'm going to go ahead and put this back into the forge. I'm going to try to elongate that eye. And the main reason for that is stability on the handle. Cheyenne's bringing me one of my tomahawks so that I can demonstrate that. This one's 150 bucks if somebody wants it. You see how this has a longer eye, so it has more contact with that handle. If I just have this short little strip, which I believe these are 5/8, it's not going to hold as well. Now it will work, but you may have to do additional fitting. You may have to be a little more attentive to fitting that. Power hammer's on. Coming in. I drew some very vestigial ears down. Now you can do that with cross-peen as well. And I'm thinking as little material as I have, using a cross-peen may be the route to go. It's not the route I want to go, but it's the route I'm going to go. And here's a hammer that's probably older than anyone who's watching this right now. I'm going to use this to kind of draw those ears down just a little bit. Well, son of a bitch.
And that's what we call forge dropping.
Let's try that again. And have a different set of tongs ready to hold that with.
Why do you think I'm sitting on the stool, Forrest? I got my feet up.
Now there, this thing does not want fit. I know why. There's one side. Now if this was all softer steel, I could have probably kept hammering a little bit, but it's not. And I don't want to crack the eye. That's going to be like the thinnest part here. Well, not really. The blade will be. This is going to be a fairly short eye. And by what I mean is the height from the top of the eye to the bottom is going to be relatively short. More like this, instead of having ears drawn down. It's going to be a fast, light piece. It's going to be a cool piece. I guarantee that. Now, if I was not going to use a Tomahawk drift, I could probably square this up and it would work just fine. We'll let that come up to temperature, and I made a lot of watermelon, which means I have to pee. I'll be right back. Cheyenne, answer some questions. Hop up front.
Hop up front. I can't see the camera and see what the comments are, though. That's the problem. Okay, does anyone have any questions that they want me to bring up to him before or when he gets back? So by ears, hold on, I'll grab some. That's dropped down right here. So with this one, as I was told, everything that he had set up down. So how this one's more straight, this one has the little droopy part right here. That's what he's calling the ears. I'm going to knock everything back down. Yes, I'm just as clumsy in person.
What I'm going to do this next time, I'm actually going to set that a little better in the vise.
He's used to me knocking everything down or somehow hurting myself. And the stuff you guys see flying off of it's nothing bad, that's just scale. Happens when the steel heats up quite a bit.
I think from here I'm going to start drawing that spike out to whatever I decide it's going to be. The question is, am I going blade or am I going spike? On this case,
It's yelling spike.
I'm thinking blade.
I don't know.
There's a lot of material
You know
right
what?
there.
What do you guys think?
What do you guys think? I'm thinking I ought to go blade just because, yeah. So let's see what happens. So we're going to do a quick recap here. I'm taking an Atlas knife and tool high carbon railroad spike, 1080 steel. These are available on their website, at least at the time of us filming this. This is a portion that has become the blade. I punched for the eye, knocked the slug out of it, drifted slightly, drawn ears down. Now we're going to turn this spike portion into something else. Now some people, when they do these, they will actually upset the end enough to forge into an axe blade. And then they come in here and they punch an eye and they have the spike on the back. And I would like to do one of those as well.
So, Forrest says he says spike, but he would like to see a blade. Why don't we do a blade this time and then do a spike for our next video?
That sounds pretty cool. So technically it's still going to be a tomahawk with a projection coming out the back of it. We're gonna go, I think we're going blade.
You win this time. Forrest says the hubby won one. Good thing this is on video.
What's that?
Forrest said the hubby won one. Good thing it's on video.
So, I'm making, there's a lot more material here than what I need for that spike. I'm going to let you guys know that. I'm going to start drawing it out, and then I'm going to determine if I'm going to cut it out, cut it off. Because if I have more spike than blade, it's going to be a little off balance. Some of us have that problem. But in this case, we're going to try to make this a reasonably well balanced tomahawk. If I continue to draw it out in these proportions, this one's going to be
A banana?
a rather well hung tomahawk. It's going to be difficult to carry. I don't think it's going to work well in use. We're going to trim it up. So we're going to nip the tip on this one and see what we can do.
We do a lot of work with Damascus.
There you have it. Nip the tip. Check that out. That actually kind of looks a little cool, but we're going to make it look cooler than it is. And this is something that maybe I should mention is that when you're doing bladesmithing, it's getting down. Probably not a bad idea. When you're bladesmithing, if you have more material than what you need, or when you're blacksmithing, cut it off. Now, it's harder to put back than it is to take away. But what I recommend is don't make something that is not balanced aesthetically and functionally. And in this case, the two are going to go hand in hand. All right, we're going over to the power hammer. There. It looks like it's growing a little Bowie knife off the side.
Forrest was wanting you to repeat whatever you said when I went to go get the tank.
What's that?
Forrest wants you to repeat whatever you said whenever I went to go get the tank, what you were talking about.
Okay, so what I was saying was that when you are forging, if you have more material than what you need, don't always use an entire 12-inch or 10 or 12-inch bastard file to make a hunting knife. That's going to be way too long, especially forged out. You're going to end up with a 14, 16, 18-inch long blade. If you're conducting raids in the South Pacific off of a pirate ship, probably not a bad piece to have back in the day. But today, maybe not as ergonomic. So finding that balance between form and function is very important.
Problem for us.
Now keep in mind this entire piece is being forged out of one piece of high carbon steel. So, am I going to heat one side, quench it, heat the other, quench it? I could. What I'm most likely to do is to heat the entire piece, quench the entire piece, and then soften the center. So it's a little more resilient. It's going to get full temper cycles.
So similar to what they call blue backing.
So yes, it would be similar to blue backing. when I quench maybe a hammer hopper, I'll give you an example. This is one of Cheyenne's axes she's finishing out. The thicker area here is going to retain heat more. So this area is going to harden. Well, this area is going to retain more heat. You're going to have some bleed kind of into this area where you're going to have maybe auto tempering, or maybe it doesn't fully harden to begin with. Maybe it doesn't harden compared to the rest of this blade. In this case, as thin as that is, I'm sure it's all going to harden. Too bad.
So, oil quenching. Forrest asked, do you always quench with oil?
Do I always quench with oil? I generally do quench with oil. Some simple carbon steels, I'll use canola. I've got some Quentrell 521 in the back that we'll actually be using for a lot of our builds in the near future. We just got that. On low to medium carbon steels, I will use water. There have been some instances where I've done a brine quench. If you watch my episode of Master of Arms, I actually did a urine quench on the prison of my flintlock. Now what that means is I created a brine solution by pissing in a bucket and then adding some water, and it hardened the steel. I can brine quench this. I don't have to pee right now, so I'm probably going to use oil in the future, but I'm going to get everything forged to shape, make sure everything's in alignment, and then from there I'll go ahead and get everything ground and then heat treat.
So how is it back in the day they were able to quench their knives and
Low
swords?
manganese steels. Modern steels versus okay. I have heard it so many times that we can't make steel as good as they had back in the day. If we can make steel like they had in medieval broadswords and Japanese katanas, the steel in those blades are subpar to what we can produce today. Very, very simple. Many of the medieval broadswords, many of the sea-axes or saxes, whatever you want to call it, were not that great. Cheyenne is going to show you a Viking era blade that is primarily iron. That's primarily wrought iron. They didn't make good stuff back then. Even like the Poof Bear and other crucible steel swords that may have air hardened due to natural occurring alloying due to inclusions of like vanadium and other elements that allow air hardening in steel, we still produce better steels. We have better metallurgical knowledge now than what we had when I started doing this over 30 years ago. There is going to be some stock removal done on this particular piece. I'm just going to let you guys know that right off so you're not going, hey, that doesn't look like what he forged. And for those of you who say that, that's like, cool, that means that apparently I know how to work material. But this particular piece, I am going to have that kind of come in as a claw-like blade. And from here, we're actually going to go in. They're going to start drifting next. So now you can see how much this has changed from what it was. Let's get that up to temp and see what happens. Trying to drink some water. Thank you. So next I'm going to start drifting. I'm going to use my Bear Ironworks hammer. I got this from Jared Sutcliffe at the time. Sutcliffe or Sutcliffe? I think Sutcliffe.
I think it's Sutcliffe.
I got this from him when he was resident blacksmith at Turtle Island. Volunteered down there at times, teaching. Really wish I had my other swage block. What I'm going to do first, majority of the drifting is going to be from the underside. My final drifting will have to be from the top so the handle fits appropriately. Which means part of that drifting may be done over here. Just a little bit, not bad. I'm going to throw it on the ground. What I do need, I need a much larger hammerhead.
One thing is, a lot of people would edit that stuff out, and we like showing people that no, we all make mistakes. Back in just a moment. I'm going to see if I have something else in the back that's a little bigger. Go ahead, hop up front. It's pretty quick. I have to be behind the camera to see the questions.
Okay, this might work. Now you notice this blade keeps coming in more and more. That's because of the way I'm drifting it.
So Forrest, I actually had to wear a mask on mine. Mine's one of the previous season, or previous episodes, I guess, on season 9.
Closer to where I wanted it. Okay, so next we'll be continuing to drift, and I'm hoping, really hoping I can get it drifted from the top the way I want it and keep the ears without obscuring them. That could be, I think I can figure it out.
So Forrest, we usually sell on Facebook and whatnot. We also do custom work and everything else.
So what I think I'm going to do when I go to drift this, I'm going to open this up enough that the ears will hopefully be okay.
So if you look up Dustin Rhodes on Facebook, it'll have his profile, and then mine is Cheyenne Brown-Rhodes.
So, I'm going to heat that up some more. Everything's looking pretty good on it. Pretty happy with it. There is going to be some additional stock removal on this one. Guaranteed. I have the abilities to change that up, so I'm going to do so.
No problem, Forrest.
I've always wanted to do YouTube Live. This is the first time, the second video, that we've been able to do this. This is really cool. Next, I'm going to bring that in through the top. Hopefully get a final drifting on it. Hopefully everything is straight, in alignment. There's different points to check on alignment with this. We're going to find out.
gives you an idea of what it'll look like on a handle. Well, hey, Charles. Charles Boyer is on.
Charles, how's it going, man? Do a little bit of correction, and hopefully everything stays straight. Chances of that happening are not real great, but I'm gonna try it. And if so, then I'm gonna run my normalizations, call it good. We'll catch you a little bit later. Guys, be sure to like and subscribe. You can check us out on Forged in Fire, Season 4, Episode 2, Master of Arms, Season 1, Episode 1. You can see Cheyenne on Season 9, Episode 5, Blades Gone Wild on Forged in Fire. You can come to our location, 409 North Main in St. Elmo, Illinois.
You can check us out on Facebook as well.
Absolutely. Check us out on Facebook and Instagram. Find us at Axon Main Forge of Memory, Brown-Rhodes Forge Works, CB's Bone Works. Be sure to check out Robbie Bowman at Iron Mountain Metal Craft in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, 172 Old Mill Avenue.
And if you're into forging, where can you order these high carbon railroad spikes? Through them.
To be aware of on a Tomahawk or an axe.
Oh, hold on, Forrest. Here you go, sweetheart.
Well, I have a pile of hammers here. That is bugging the hell out of me right now.
No problem, babe.
Okay. So now what I'm doing is I'm heating the piece and I'm going to let it cool. I'm going to do this a couple times.
And what is this process called?
This is normalization. A lot of people don't do this with axes very much. Most cases they say, hey, it's a tool, it's fine. I'm a bladesmith. I like mine to be a little more durable, and I've found better performance when you run thermal cycling on pieces such as this. Now hammers, that depends on what you want to do with them. On my axes and tomahawks, I do at least 2 grain refinement cycles. And in this case, as thin as that is, it's losing heat pretty quick. We're probably going to run 3. I always think of it, this is my personal matter, kind of Trinity, Father, Son, Holy Ghost. I run 3 normalization, or 3 grain refinement cycles. Normalized, or I guess the rest is grain refinement after that. And then, my tempering, sometimes it's 3, a lot of times I only do 2. So I'll do the quench and then 2 tempering cycles after that. Occasionally I will do a 3rd tempering cycle. A 3rd used to be pretty standard. And I kind of got away from that. This should be a cool piece once it's finished. Now this is...
It's still low red.
This is in the blue heat stage, and the low red going into the blue. Then we go into what's referred to as a black heat. I'm not sure why, but just it's the oxide that forms on the surface when it's no longer luminous. Now,
There you go.
my blades are now dark. Some people run it down to the point you can touch it. We're dealing with 1078 steel, which is very close to 1080. A bit more exotic as far as availability, perhaps. However, it is a forgiving steel. Forgiveness is a wonderful thing when it comes to steel. When it comes to business dealings, not as much. Well, it depends on which end you're on. So, what I'm going to do on this, I'm going to run a couple thermal cycles, and then I'm going to do my grinding. Which I probably should have left this open because this is what I'm letting it cool.
That looked really pretty on camera. It looked
Cool, but it wasn't an
Yeah.
even heat. I wanted even heat.
So it may not look like an even heat on camera, guys, but it in
My
person.
camera does not show true colors in relation to the heat of this. Now,
It looks a lot hotter on camera than what.
yeah, this is actually the low red, and it's hard to tell with these lights. I would almost do a Bowie style build tonight, but kids have school in the morning. Cheyenne's got work and her other
My hobby job.
Her other hobby job. And I've got to go to the home shop to get it ready to clear out. So as this comes down in temperature, we're getting a more uniform grain. Of course, that's going to require quenching and tempering to really show that. Some people, they'll go through and they'll be like, I broke my blade. Why is my grain, how's it look? Why would you ever make a blade, break it, to examine the grain structure if you don't do a proper heat treat? That's where the beginning groups come in, and I try to stay out of those because it just, there's a lot of bad information going around. If you want good information, you can check out Next Level Knife Making. I believe it's available on Amazon. I want to say it was commissioned by Blade. I was a contributing author on that. I have instructional DVDs. There are better ways to do this from what we were originally told. You know, from traditional methods come traditional results. I like traditional styles with modern results. Now this time I'm only going to bring it up to a low temp, a low heat, and I'm going to let that heat migrate into the piece. And the way I'm going to do that is by shutting my forge off. Now you can see that, you may or may not be able to see with that camera, how that is cooling already. But as that's cooling, the temperature on that axe head is coming up. So it's going to come up to probably a dull red, a low even red.
You can see her pretty good on the camera.
And I'm going to let it cool in there. Now, this is the second video we did tonight.
Yeah. You might as well show the end product of the previous one.
In my first video, I took an Atlas knife and tool, 1080 high carbon steel spike, and I forged this cool little railroad spike Bowie.
Bring it up to the camera where they can see the handle of this one.
The handle of it, I'm not completely thrilled with. I cut into opposite edges, and I got this kind of like a pineapple twist, kind
More
of a
like a
Rubik's
gear.
twist. It's a little different. It's a bit rough on the hands, and I am going to smooth that down because this is like serration here.
Finishing belt will.
This is a reasonable example of what you can make with with just about any railroad spike, really. But I went with a little higher grade, a little higher carbon grade from the spikes I got from Atlas Knife and Tool. Cheyenne, would you grab that other one? Now this one hasn't been ground yet.
Or heat treated yet.
Yeah, there's no heat treat on that yet. So I will grind that and heat treat that along with that axe and maybe another one. This is one that's already been heat treated. I incised on each side of the handle before twisting it, giving it that cool twist that frankly I'm quite proud of, and I know someone's going to love this. Now there's a size difference between these two. And in this case, I actually drew this handle out, the entire piece out, probably 3/4 of an inch, half an inch, 3/4 of an inch longer. And this is still a substantial blade. And I'm really thrilled to work with this material. Now, I'm going to tell you why. It's because I can say I have I have maybe a style of knife that I've always wanted to have a higher grade of steel in. Now, that is my opinion on this, that it is a cutlery grade steel, that it will probably perform better. Now, if you come in and you do one of my classes, we're going to use one of these standard spikes. And this is going to move faster. It's going to move better. It's going to be more forgiving. It's not going to crack out on you. This is a tough steel. The idea behind that is that a beginner is going to still make a serviceable knife, even though it is not cutlery grade steel. It is a knife of sorts. And we have people around here skinning deer with railroad spike knives and horseshoe knives that they've made in our shop. Now, is a railroad spike knife really a knife? To some people it is, to some people it's not. It depends upon what criteria you put into that piece. And those criteria can vary anywhere from, is it cutlery grade? Is a piece of broken bottle glass, napped or not napped, if it has a sharp edge, is technically a blade of sorts. So this allows me to go back to one of the pieces that I enjoyed making in the beginning, and that I see people enjoying and just loving with their forged memory experience, but in a higher carbon steel. And that's what it comes down to, is a higher carbon steel. And the performance between the two. Now, Brian Rognall, and I probably messed up his last name. Sorry, Brian. He said that he felt that the high carbon steel spike. Here, Cheyenne, I'm going to hand this over to you. That this actually worked easier than this. And I thought about it and was like, yeah, these are tough. And these do have some form of work hardening to them. So there's some stresses in that piece. This is essentially virgin stock, so it moves quite uniformly. I'm still going to be doing the standard spikes for our spike classes here. And at some point, I may even offer up something. But in the meantime, with this material, I'm going to have a lot of fun doing a lot of builds, making a lot of content, and saying all kinds of innuendo-like phrases just to see what I can get by with. Guys, be sure to like and subscribe. We'll catch you in a few, and hopefully we'll have those finished products up. Later.